Today, malnutrition contributes to the deaths of millions of children every year, which translates into more than 1 out of every 3 child deaths. The story starts in the 1,000-day window of opportunity between pregnancy and a child's first 2 years. This period becomes the best shot at helping a child reach his or her potential and sets the stage for life. Let's take a closer look at just how critical this period is. Starting in the womb, before birth, the fetus is at risk if the mother lacks essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients needed for brain, bone, and organ development. About half of all women in developing countries suffer from vitamin and mineral deficiencies during pregnancy. Once the baby is born, from birth to the first 6 months, early and exclusive breastfeeding without adding any other foods or liquids is the very best way to ensure a healthy baby. And starting at 6 months, adding nutritious solid foods along with continued breastfeeding is absolutely necessary to make sure that the child grows correctly. Most stunting happens in this critical period. There is no going back. The cost of malnutrition during this 1,000-day window is almost always irreversible. Damage to the brain, leading to poor educational performance and lower IQ, poor growth and development, and, remarkably, this early deprivation increases a child's risk of developing chronic diseases as an adult, which we mentioned earlier. Chronic diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease, all debilitating and potentially life-threatening, requiring hospitalizations, continued attention, and care later in life. Another huge challenge is that malnutrition in children can happen and persist for years, and we can't always see it. These 3 little girls, Roshani, Raman, and Sonam, are all from the same remote village in South Asia. All 3 girls are the same age, but they show very different levels of development. The first 2 girls suffer from stunting and underdevelopment owing to poor nutrition, and it's unlikely that they will ever catch up and reach their full height or their full weight or their full potential like their village playmate on the right. The invisible nature of chronic malnutrition also sets up a pattern that we see happening generation after generation. This intergenerational cycle of growth failure starts with a malnourished woman. This mother is stunted and at greater risk of obstetric complications. She also has a greater risk of delivering an infant with low birth weight. Like this baby girl, who is at higher risk of illness and death, and at higher risk of delayed emotional and intellectual development, and she is also likely to suffer from growth failure in those important early developmental years, which in turn lead to low weight and stunting in the teen years. And that takes us back to our malnourished woman, and the cycle of poor nutrition perpetuates itself across generations. Adolescent pregnancy also heightens the risk of low birth weight and adds to the difficulty in breaking the cycle. We need support for good nutrition during pregnancy and childhood, that 1,000-day window of opportunity, so we can break this cycle of growth failure and turn it into a virtuous cycle with strong, healthy mothers and children.